なってるんだこの木は。フリーザとその父親の木。
誤解を感じる。ピッコロさん、フリーザとその父親、そして父さん。こんなにも多くの木が一つの場所に集まっている。
Remember when Scouters were a thing? Pepperidge Farm remembers. When Raditz first arrived on Earth, frickin' guy scanned everyone and made all of us believe that everyone's total strength was the number we saw in a Scouter. But we all know now that the Scouters only measured one aspect of fighters, but not everything else that contributes to overall strength. For all we know, this guy is probably the strongest in the universe. 'Cause he is. So what did Scouters measure? In the English dub, they measured something called power level, but the original Japanese name gives us a more specific idea of what the Scouters measured: battle strength. From the name itself, we can probably guess that the Scouters measured things that could be measured or rated, like physical strength and speed, but not everything else. Everyone outside of Earth weren't martial artists. They didn't learn to harness and master something called ki, which is a very abstract term that can be described as one's life force, but it's a lot more complicated than that. Ki encompasses so many things about one person's body beyond just the physical aspects. It includes things like one's nature, mind, spirit, mood, feeling, intention, etc. And that is why Scouters failed. How do you measure something that's very abstract? Frieza's army were always on guard and battle ready. Their battle strength was always static. They never learned to meditate. They learned how to punch and kick and how to lift weights. So if they ever used the Scouters on each other, that number was probably accurate. Whereas characters like Gohan and Krillin could mask their ki from being detected by Scouters by staying calm and not giving in to anger. Ki isn't something you can measure accurately, because it's something you should feel and experience. Speaking of experience, let's take a look at the Frieza saga. Remember when Gohan and Krillin were on Namek and felt Frieza's ki for the first time? They didn't just say, "Oh, that guy can bench 5 plates." No, they literally trembled in fear because they could sense Frieza's sinisterness. Is this a word? It wasn't like with Vegeta's ki, where the only thing they could tell from his ki was how much stronger he was than them. His ki did not leave Krillin and Gohan shaking in cold sweat like with Frieza. This tells us that ki inherits the traits of the character. Another example of this was back during the Saiyan saga, when Goku was wished back to life and returned to Earth. He wasn't anywhere near the battlefield, but Piccolo, Krillin, and Gohan recognized his ki from miles and miles away. They recognized that Goku has gotten stronger, but they also described his ki as familiar, bringing them comfort during the battle. Now, ki not only reflects trait, it also reflects intent. Remember when Trunks first appeared, Trunks asked Goku to transform into a Super Saiyan, and without any warning, Trunks took his sword and attempted to strike Goku, but stopped inches before his sword could reach Goku, and Goku just stood there, not reacting to any of this. When Trunks asked why he didn't block or dodge it, Goku simply answered, "Because I could sense your ki. You didn't have any violent intent." And the cool thing about ki is how it retains its biological makeup, even as a small cell. Remember when Piccolo first encountered Cell, and everyone at Kame House were like, "Hold up, how are we all fighting Piccolo when we're all right here?" And then there's how Vegeta reacted.
Okay, what the hell am I sensing? Is that the Namekian? Is that me? Is that me stronger than me? Kill me!
My friend made me play this clip. And I think the fact that Cell is composed of multiple fighters' ki is very fascinating. Not only does he retain a fighter's ki, but he's somehow able to utilize their ki abilities without having to practice them. When Piccolo first used the Makanko Sappo, it took a few minutes for him to charge it, but Cell was just able to use it just because he wanted to show off. Whereas when Ginyu swapped bodies with Goku, Ginyu struggled fighting against Gohan and the gang because he could not utilize Goku's ki properly, since he's only had the body for like maybe an hour. Now let's take a look at Gohan's ki. Ever since the Raditz fight, we learned that Gohan had some kind of hidden potential that allowed him to reach a level of strength that far surpassed many of the strongest characters in the series, including Goku. And eventually, he does surpass Goku in his fight against Cell and once again in the Buu Saga. But what's interesting is that on more than one occasion, people mistook Gohan's ki for Goku's.
ハンの気が上がった。
そうか、カカロットのやつが来ていやがったか。よ、新たな敵なのか。それとも悟空だ。
違うよ、兄ちゃんだ。兄ちゃん。
ご飯さん。
Toriyama was writing Gohan to become the next main character, but he made sure that Gohan would have a different path than Goku's. Gohan's martial arts foundation is through Piccolo's training, who was kind of Goku's rival before Vegeta showed up. He didn't do any of the Turtle Hermit training. In fact, in Gohan's attack name, Masenko, the character Ma and Masenko means demon, which is also in a lot of Piccolo's attack names, because he's a demon. In the Buu Saga, which was originally the last saga of the series before Super and GT were a thing, we see that Gohan's strongest form didn't come from his Saiyan ki, but his own ki. And lastly, we have the androids and cyborgs. Androids are machines that look like humans, whereas cyborgs are biological beings, which includes humans, that are modified or enhanced with mechanical parts. Androids are artificial beings, so they don't have any ki, since we've established that ki is pretty much life. It needs to have a conscience. The cyborgs also don't have ki. Well, they do, but it's still artificial ki, because whatever's powering number 17 and 18 is artificial. They have their own human ki since they're still human, but it's so low that it can't be detected because it's as low as everyone else's. It is interesting that in Dragon Ball Super, number 17 becomes just as strong as Goku. Whatever Dr. Gero built in number 17 and 18 somehow allows them to become stronger. So they're still biologically human, but they can somehow raise their artificial ki through regular training, I'm assuming. Anyway, I just want to end this with a funny story. So the other night, I was out with my friends, and we were ordering drinks, and I read the name of this drink as Mojito. And one of my friends, who doesn't really know much about Dragon Ball, said, "Isn't that a Dragon Ball Z fusion character?" Anyway, I thought that was funny. Until next time.